Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Sharon Flynt, and I'm the horticulture agent here in Scott County. Of course, I'm one of the team members that helped put this on, and today I'm going to talk about water features in your garden. And I found this pretty cool little app here, or PowerPoint thing that actually allowed me to put a little motion in it today. So water features in your garden. Okay, so our intent today is really to look at the benefits of maybe adding water to your landscape, to discuss and also illustrate quick, easy ways to add water to your landscape, and also giving basic knowledge and resource locations. So this really isn't a how-to or anything like that. It's just sort of, I'm putting out there some, benefits of it, but also resources to where you can find some of this new, and I mean, the garden or the water feature, adding ponds and water features to your garden has exploded actually in the last few years. But, and why? Why, we wonder why. Water really is the elixir of life. Of course, we know that about 70% of the Earth's surface is water. About 1/3 of our bodies are water. And actually, our brain and our heart are composed of about 73% water. So yeah, we're pretty connected to water on this planet. Now, there can be emotional and physical benefits of having water close by. The sound and sight of water, they say, can actually, it induces a flood of neurochemicals that promote wellness, increased blood flow to the heart and the brain. In researching this, I came across a lot of information about how, our connection to water and being close to waterfalls or even the ocean, and how it just helps people tremendously to feel more relaxed. And my husband agreed. He said, "That's why you like the beach so much." Absolutely. But there is some scientific information there that they say the negative oxygen ions that are generated by water sort of crashing around as in a wave or within a waterfall or something like that, it actually has a positive effect on us and also in our environment. And numerous researchers have found that connection between these negative ions and stress reduction. A lot of information can be found on sitting at the base of a waterfall. Actually, I looked at several different places of information on this. And now, while there has been research done on some of this, some of the research is still, there's still research going on about, how much and how effective it is on the benefits of water. But it does say that it can affect your metabolism, I think, in a positive way, your immune system, digestion, blood pressure, sleep quality, and even the emotional state. And I do know that when, I'm near water, I feel better. I seek water to have, like stress reduction and just sit and think. Also, water helps to improve our air quality. And if it's in your garden, if you're in a subdivision or close to a busy road or something, it will help to reduce the noise pollution, just having that flowing water. It helps to mask that noise nearby. And again, there's that release of continuous flow of negative ions. Now, the amount that are released by, different waterfalls and that sort of thing, I guess, would be negotiable, depending on how much water you have flowing. Also, running water attracts all kinds of wildlife. Birds especially are attracted to it. And then, of course, squirrels and rabbits and other fauna, if they can get to it. Any kind of water feature that you can have, such as a bird bath or even drippers or things like that, the birds will flock to. Of course, you do need to keep it clean. And if you are adding a water feature that, you're catering to some wildlife, birds, you may want to consider possibly keeping that water flowing during even the winter months and having it heated so that they always have a source of flowing water. Now, some of this I came across, it says, oh yeah, it'll boost your curb appeal. And it can add an aesthetic value to your home and to your garden. I did a little digging though, and it doesn't really add any value in terms of dollars to your home, but it can add, that curb appeal feeling. But then again, it can also go the other way. And I have this picture here. Looks like an old bathtub that someone's put in their garden. And then I can see where that could be probably relaxing to someone. However, the water looks murky there, and I see dead plants and there's some vines hanging down or something, I don't know. But anyway, you really need to be careful. If you're adding a water feature, hoping to boost your curb appeal of your home, or helping to sell your home, you really need to be careful and consider keeping how that will affect others and keeping your garden and your water features clean and tidy. Well, so how do we add these things? Well, you could start really small. The best way to start small is just adding what they call like a butterfly puddler. And in this illustration, we have a terracotta saucer. To that has been added some gravel, small size gravel, where the water can sort of get into the cracks and crevices. Also some moist sand mixed with some compost or garden soil there. And then also some landing pads in there for larger rocks or pebbles serve for that. And then you just add water to it. Now you can add mineral distilled water, or you can collect some rainwater to add to that, or probably one of the easiest ways for some of us would just be to set out a pitcher or a bowl of tap water, allow it to sit for several days as you would if you were putting it into an aquarium with fish, and then adding it to the puddling stations. And butterflies, lots of different butterflies will seek out these puddling stations because they're maybe not so much for the water, but for the minerals that are found in the sand and the compost and that sort of thing. Now, as this is made out of terracotta, it does have a little bit of upkeep to it because you will have to continually check on it and make sure that you're adding water to it as needed. Another extremely easy way to add a water feature is with a bird bath. You may already have a bird bath in your garden there, and then adding a little waterfall feature or recirculating type pump to it can add that extra little movement and maybe a little fountain type effect. But in this illustration, we have the bird bath. And this little kit was purchased. You can purchase it anywhere. And all the things that I show you today, for the most part, you can find them easily online, and you can find them at big box stores now. It's all readily available anymore. But it's just a little resin rock waterfall with a pump that fits up inside of it. Now with this one, it does have an electrical cord. It is an electrical pump. So you will need to have electricity nearby that, can keep the pump running. But it's a real easy way if you have that set up and have a bird bath or a shallow basin somewhere in your garden where you can add a little bit of flowing water and a little bit of recirculating water and that sound of the water flowing. Also, if you want to, you could also, thinking on it this way, if you want a water feature in your garden, you might want to consider capturing the rain. Now, I think in the past we've had information on how to build a rain garden and that sort of thing, but this really is just maybe adding to where a downspout comes out, and instead of just having the downspout and your concrete little spout thing that just sort of takes it away from the foundation of your house, you might want to add a little water feature there. Now, of course, this is going to be temporary. It will be, depending on rain and that sort of thing. So any type of plants that you add there, you need to plant accordingly. You need to make sure that they can take some soaking water, but also some plants there that maybe, can take a little dryness and possibly drought, as we're having right now, if that happens. But a feature like this, instead of running it off down into, just running it off into the yard there, this always enables the water to be able to be slowly absorbed back into the soil or the groundwater. The only thing I would caution you is to make sure that you continue to move that water away from your foundation. You don't want to add to your problems of your home foundation by, depositing all that water directly there. And in this illustration at the bottom, you can sort of see where they have a little dry stone wet way there that sort of directs the water to be able to flow out away from the foundation. Now, I've mentioned you can purchase all types of kits. Today's market, like I said, it's wide open. Things you need to consider, you want to determine where you want to put something and what type of room you have available, because you can purchase, as this picture shows, I mean, this is sculptural really. And I'm really more focusing on the globe there on top of a taller pot there. Not maybe, it almost looks like there's a rock wall behind there. But yeah, so you can choose anything you want. You can pick a price point. I've seen so many. I purchased some solar fountains recently, and they were anywhere from like $9 to on up, depending on the size and what you want it to do. And also you want to determine the amount of upkeep you can live with. Something like this, wouldn't really take a lot of upkeep, but you do need to make sure that you continue to add water to it, if we have a hot, dry situation like we do now. And also there is just a little bit of, there's evaporation and also a splash that will leak out from some of them. So you need to decide that. Now with these kits, generally, they usually come with just about everything you need except the water. And I'm illustrating here, the top shows that water feature already installed. But the bottom is the actual parts that you get. And so, you'll get something that looks like this. And then it is up to you to be able to make sure that if it has a recirculating pump that needs electricity, you need to make sure how that is going to go. And also what other type of features and how it will fit into your landscape. Again, like I said, there's so many different types of choices that you can have anymore, and they're all at different price points. Some of these, that I have illustrated here, I think that fountain at the top that looks rather a very formal concrete fountain, that was like in the thousands of dollars, whereas our little blue dish there, the little koi spouting out water, of course, that was rather affordable. I don't really remember exactly what the price of it was, but I mean, it was under $100, I'm sure, and I really think it was below about $75 or $50 there. So you can choose anything. Also, you can choose to have kits where you can incorporate plants and that sort of thing. So like I said, the market is wide open. Also, there's just so many how-tos out there. I decided in creating this that I thought I'll just add some links to where they can seek out to find some of these how-tos. Here, Better Homes and Gardens always has a lot of good information about gardening and how to add different features. And you will see there, their urn, that was actually This project would, if you had an urn already that you like and you want to convert it to a water feature, then this site would be great for that, because it actually shows you how to take an urn and then purchase the different components you need and that sort of thing. Even underneath the urn there where you see the pebbles, there's a water well there. It goes into, how you would construct the water well for that and add the recirculating effect to that. But then also here, the other one with the little orange globe in there, the Sky Nursery, their website featured just different containers that you would purchase. And it was really more about the containers and the pumps, and it wasn't a lot of construction to that as well. It was a little easier, but also equally effective. I think in this pot that we see here, they have a recirculating pump in there. They also have concrete blocks or little pavers and things like that on which they've set their plants, and then they added some, purchased some water plants to add to that, and there they have it. So there's just a myriad of those different types of sites where you can find what you're looking for. Also, what I've mentioned so far, I've talked a lot about having a power source, and then anytime you have water, when you have a power source, electrical going, you want to make sure that you're plugging it into a ground fault interrupter. And that is basically where as soon as the current or the circuit detects a power leak, such as current may possibly leaking out into your body or something like that, or someone else's body or object, that it will immediately shut off and keep you or anyone or your pets or something from being, harmed by electricity or possibly electrocution. But in times past, the solar option has been rather expensive, but in the past few years, they have become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And so, of course, you don't have to worry about having a ground fault interrupter. And I'm worried about electricity around water. The power that you get is free. It's from the sun. But because it is a solar product, you may have to limit, or it may limit where you place it. And also, it may depend on whether or not, if it's like today, right now here at my office, it's rather cloudy. So some solar kits, will shut off. They have to have constant solar energy. Those would be on the cheaper side of the market. Others will have solar, but they also can store solar energy, so that when it is possibly at night or when it is overcast and cloudy, you can still have your water flowing. So, there's just choices to be made there. I was telling Kelly earlier, I had tried to show you how easy, through a little video, on how easy it is to actually set up these and how quick any kind of small little solar water feature that you could add to your garden. However, I had a little trouble in getting the video transferred over where it would, from an Apple phone on to transfer over to here. So I failed at that. However, I have purchased several of these little solar fountains for different uses here at work. And then I've also used some at home for like a bird bath and different things like that. Out here at work, I've installed one in our butterfly garden. So not only do we have a little puddling area, but we also have a little fountain of water, because what we had noticed at our butterfly garden, not only do the butterflies like it, but also birds. We get a lot of finches and different birds. And so that added a water feature there in our butterfly garden for the birds. But it's very simple, and they came just as you see there in the top on how to install. It's a solar disc. On the bottom of that, I don't have a bottom view, maybe down there at number 4, is where the pump and the intake inlet is all located. It comes with little different, they come with different spouts that you can use. I have, as you can see, the one that I've used there even had little decorative spouts that you could add to it. But it's just as simple as assembling it, popping it in the proper depth of water, and making sure that the intake valve is always in water. That's about the only maintenance that you really, or that you really need to take care of it. Cleaning it out, that little inlet, and also maintaining a certain water depth. And immediately they go. Now, I do have some pictures of sort of dissected my video that I had, and popped in some pictures there. On the right-hand side, you see this little solar powered pump came in a small little box. It's about 6 by 6. It came upside down, and as soon as I opened it up and sort of started flipping it over and unpacking it, I could hear the pump starting to work. So, I mean, it was immediate because I was outside sort of working and playing and doing different things with it. So it immediately started to work. And in my video, I wanted to show how quickly you could actually pop this in. And I had about a minute video with a container there. And I placed some gravel at the bottom of the container to help with the water level. Filled it up with a hose and had that ready. And I took my little solar powered pump out and popped it right into the container that you see there on the bottom right. And it immediately started spouting water. And I think it's sort of hard to see, but you can see it was a quite nice little spout. So, you know, with more planning than I had, I mean, this took me all of 5 minutes. I grabbed this little container I had, unpacked the box. I grabbed some gravel that I had and turned on the hose. And within a minute, I had this little solar powered pump going. So it can be very easy. And this particular little pump I bought on Amazon, and I want to say it was probably between $10 and $15. So it can be very cheap as well. You can also get, you know, a little larger in it. You can install raised ponds as focal points. Of course, in a more formal garden, or even not. This is a rather natural Zen-like garden here, but a raised pond or anything like that is always a nice focal point. It can be constructed from anything. And these were purchased, they're like stainless steel, and they were quite expensive. But I mean, you can purchase, construct it from stone, recycled materials. As we saw earlier, someone had actually used a bathtub in theirs. And I can see where you could possibly use something like that, but maybe create a surrounding area that, you know, maybe is a little more pleasing to the eye, and that would work. But when you consider having your pond or your water feature as a focal point, you want to make sure that you can view it from as many angles as possible in your garden. You can also add plants around it and give it a more natural look. And even some of these ponds, you can add fish to them. But when you start adding plants and fish, that also adds a little bit to your upkeep. As I said, they're for all budgets. I came across one lady who wanted to create a focal point, but she couldn't. She has a liner here. It's one of those hard plastic liners that you can see at some of the big box stores. This is looks like one of the larger ones, but what she found is that she had no area where she could dig down into the ground, nor I think was she inclined to actually do a lot of digging and construction close to her home. So, you know, this could be used, you know, at someone's home, but it could also be used, you know, if you're renting a home, or even in some cases, you know, like at apartments and that sort of thing, depending on the size and how big you want to do. She actually constructed a raised bed and put her liner inside of that, and then filled it in with soil and pebbles and that sort of thing, and had her little wildlife garden outside. Now, if you're a home, if you rent your home or whatever, you can, you could disassemble this and have it out of there when you move and take most of it with you. For me, if I were her, I would have added something to soften that black, around the edge of it, you see here. But she was very happy with hers. And she actually has a website called The Empress of Dirt. And this is one of those where you can go, go online and look, and it gives you a step-by-step instruction on how to do it. Like I said, the how-tos and resources abound. This is one, a very pretty one from Country Living, but it's in the United Kingdom that I was able to come upon. And it's how to build a pond in your garden. And it goes from container ponds to large built-in ponds. So there's a lot of resources out there. Here again is something Wild About Gardens gives very simple instructions, and this is very simplified, but actually it it covers all of the points there. So you don't have to look far for information and resources. Of course, if you're considering a habitat pond, wildlife pond, that you can build those in different sizes and styles. Just be aware that you will attract, if you do have a wildlife pond, all types of insects and birds and amphibians, even possibly some mammals and that sort of thing. I have a in-ground pond in my garden. And while some of the things that come there, the birds and that sort of thing, and I get dragonflies and that sort of thing, I'm okay with, but there are some of the amphibians, toads and things like that. And I know that's crazy for someone who loves gardening to not be so fond of toads, but yeah, they love that place too. And they are not my favorite. So you need to be aware that you will be attracting to this, because every living thing needs and loves water. You can include aquatic plants to the water and that sort of thing. The only thing you want to really consider is you want to try to avoid any type of overhanging or really close trees that maybe will continue to drop leaves into your pond, because especially if you have a pump and that sort of thing, that can clog your pump, cause a lot of maintenance problems. Okay, so all things considered, here are some concerns that I felt like need to be brought up, or some information. If you're considering going with an electrified pump to keep water moving, make sure that you have a ground fault interrupter. And again, as I said, this device protects us from receiving electrical shock, or your pets that might be around there and that sort of thing. It quickly cuts off the power supply. And ground fault anymore in new construction and that sort of thing, I think a lot of homes have ground fault interrupters already installed, especially of course in your bathroom, but also in your patio areas. But if that's not something that you have, or it's not close, you don't have a receptacle that's close enough that has that, you may want to consider switching that out and then having one installed. Also, a lot of things you see GPH, that's actually just gallons per hour, the amount of gallons a pump will circulate within an hour. And a lot of times, especially if you're maintaining fish and that sort of thing, the recirculation of the water is an important factor. Also, with any type of garden feature, especially where we live here in Kentucky, we need to consider winterizing, especially disconnect your pumps and drain the water and that sort of thing, and store, if you have some of the smaller kit type things, that will help them to last longer. In-ground ponds and that sort of thing, again, I would suggest disconnecting your pumps. Also, if you have added fish and that sort of thing in my little pond that I have in my garden, for years, we don't have any this summer, but for years we've had like little goldfish that we've added to there for our kids and then for our grandkids, and everything. Also, we have little leopard frogs and things that'll hop in and out of them. So when you're winterizing, you need to consider those as well. Our little pond is not deep enough. So what we would do was every year capture the goldfish and either bring them in and let the kids take care of them in an aquarium. Also, we would relocate the leopard frogs and that sort of thing. We do have a farm pond close by where we can take them and leave them there so that they can go ahead in the fall and start getting ready for winter. And for years, we would take our goldfish up to a little pond that we had close by on our farm and, actually raised goldfish. And goldfish do get very large if they're allowed to overwinter and thrive. So we did for years, we would give away some very large and very colorful goldfish. So, if you're thinking about adding fish to your pond and that sort of thing, I know koi is the big thing and they can be quite expensive. But I will say from experience that just your, dime store goldfish, when you go to a pet shop and get the goldfish there, they can also, with care over the years, grow into some very large fish that are quite attractive. Okay, also, all things considered, there are, can be some problems. Algae. You will have algae build up in a pond or a water feature situation as long as you have water, sunlight, and any type of nutrient that is growing, or leaking into your water. So a ways around this is to limit the sunlight, limit the nutrients. Usually if you add potted plants, like soil plants close or in the water, that will supply some nutrients there. And also, of course, fish. Fish are in there. And they're supplying plenty of nutrients just because they're living and giving off excess and that sort of thing. Ways around this, underwater plants that you can purchase and floating plants, they actually are in direct competition with the algae for the nutrients. So they can help keep a lot of algal bloom or algae out of your pond. Also, they create algicides that are safe for aquatic plants and fish and different organisms that may visit if you have a larger backyard pond. If you just have a little kit that you put together and there are no plants or fish or anything in there, what I would do is occasionally I add a little bit of a drop of bleach. I have one little installation where it just sort of flows over the top, very minimal, sort of zen-like. And I would change the water occasionally. It takes it's a self-contained thing that contains about a gallon of water. So I would change the water occasionally and also add maybe just a little bit of bleach to it, and just to keep it nice and clean and keep it from clogging up the pump. Mosquitoes, if you have water like that, you will probably have mosquitoes, but usually they become a problem only if you're not really maintaining and you're letting water stand. In standing water and stagnant water, that's where the mosquitoes will come to. So those small aquarium fish or goldfish, as I said, we never really had a mosquito problem as long as we had our little goldfish in the pond, because they would eat the larvae. In recent years, I've also purchased these little mosquito dunks that contain the bacteria Bacillus thuringiensis. And they're just almost look like little straw circular things that just sort of float in the water. And that Bacillus thuringiensis actually disrupts the life cycle of the larva and that sort of thing. And these can also be used any place where you have standing water, like gutters, rain barrels, all those sorts of things, bird baths, but if you have a recirculating bird bed, possibly that's not a problem. and that sort of thing. They're effective, very long lasting, and they're safe for people and pets and fish because our kids play, or the grandkids will play in there. Even our little dogs, they will go up and occasionally get a drink of water. So, it's very safe. Other things you might come across, the math and calculating how much water in a water feature. If you have like how much water you're going to need or how much water it contains, these are just the simple math on how to decide how many gallons you have in a water feature. It's just the area of the water feature, and I have listed here rectangular, square, circular, and then it's multiplied. There's a multiplier there that will help to calculate the volume in gallons of water. Also, this is a little publication that I've used for years. I think the first time I found this was back in 2006 for a little class I was doing. It was a fact sheet from the University of Georgia and their extension services. But the information that they had in there, they had gotten some of that from an extension horticulturalist at Oklahoma State University. So this information has been borrowed, but it is research-based information. And in this, they have, it's sort of a basic on necessary supplies, how to install water features, pool styles, talking about water fountains and that sort of thing, calculating. I got those calculations from this publication. Also, it has a good list of aquatic plants that you may want to consider, pond animal life, and all, caring about the water or caring for your water resource, and then also different sources. I will say it is old, it's 2006, but it is still a good basic information can be found here, and I have the link there for it. And all through this, I've added all active links so that, if anyone wants to, they can access the information here. And then there are some others. Also, I'd like to say that, you can find plenty of books. There's lots of great books on water features. I would go to your library first, or somehow decide how you're going to, to look through all the information, because some books have more information than others. So if you're looking on Amazon, I'd go, there's just a plethora of them, but really sort of try to look through them and see if they have a description of what's contained, because some of them, are more like picture books, and some of them have some wonderful pictures, but also some really good information to help you get started and help you even go further. If you decide your small little water kit is not enough and you want to, dig a pond in your backyard type of thing.